Well, howdy, guys. Once again, Marc B Lee here, along with my lovely co-hosts Jerome, Connor, and Rosemary Rose. Welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Each and every Saturday, we try to give you guys a return back to your I was about to say back to the future, guys. I said we give you a return back to your future. No, it's actually a return back to your past. And good morning, Terry, over there in Ireland. Good to see you, brother. Hey, Rose. Hello, Jerome. How you guys doing?
Good morning. I have to give a weather report to you two.
Oh, I'll give you one when you're finished.
As I look out the window, it's snowing.
Don't choke, Mark.
Yeah. So this.
I'm sorry. Snow and snow. What is snow?
Yeah. Says the man from Baltimore. Don't start with me. You know what snow is.
I had the common sense to move.
The advantage about May. The advantage about this, snow and everything else up here in North, it makes sheltering in place and lockdowns a whole lot easier, than what you guys have.
More like abandoned in place.
Yeah,
what the hell are you making? What is that?
Tea. I'm just squeezing out the water of the tea bag. See? Tea bag.
Yeah.
I before the show came on, I showed Rose, English breakfast tea.
Oh, I'm a big tea man. I'm huge on tea.
A lot of honey.
Ooh, honey. That's a big thing of honey.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, you need the timer because you have to have the right times for the right tea.
Okay, look, when I use tea bags, I leave the tea bag in.
Yeah, that makes it too strong for me.
Actually, it doesn't make it strong for me, so that's why I did that. If it was strong, I would have pulled it out, but no, I leave the tea bag in. Hey guys, Sage, Odie, Charles, Terry, all you guys popping in. Good morning, GW. Good morning, guys. Saturday Morning Cartoon. Hey, we got a special segment. It is not my week. That is why I'm sitting on the couch, and this is why my hair is not combed. But as of yesterday, our illustrious knucklehead governor finally opened up the barbershops and salons. So I may actually go and get a haircut today, but I can imagine the line probably being around the block.
Look, we get
it. It was suggested by appointment only, so you might want to call first, Mark. I think they're trying to do it that way.
Mark, just get a bowl and then trim along the edges. It's just simpler.
All I'm going to do is walk in the freaking door, and once everybody sees who I am, they'll all get up.
It'll be like parting of the water.
Waters. That's right, parting the water. Okay.
No, they're going to look and they're going to laugh and go, "You think that's long?"
Yeah, I was gonna put on some Huggy Bear outfit and put on some Starsky and Hutch music and walk into the place with my cane and everything and take the big fur hat off.
There are two reasons why you could never pull off Huggy Bear.
Which one do I want first? The second one or the first one?
First off, you don't look good in that big hat.
That is very true. I probably look like a girl.
Right. Okay. And second of all, I don't think you have the balance to walk on those platform boot shoes.
Well, that is very true. I'd probably break a hip.
An ankle or two.
And then you'd have to put me down. So
exactly,
All right. Well, all right. So I'm happy that it's Rose's week, okay, because she's going to tell us a little bit about a gentleman. I have no idea who he is. So I'm happy that during all of our Saturday morning cartoons, you actually get an education on the cartoons that we try to provide for you. And this is going to be a huge education for me because I am absolutely and completely clueless on this gentleman, good looking man that he is. Rose, is he still around or is he dead?
Oh, no, we're doing a tribute to Eugene Deitch, who passed away just a couple of weeks ago. And here's the story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just scrolling along on Facebook and and I came across his obituary. And when I was reading,
wait a minute, what were you scrolling?
Yeah, I want to know about that too.
What the hell were you doing? Perusing the obits?
I was going to say,
it popped up on my feed. It popped up on my feed probably because.
Wait a minute, why are obituaries popping up on your feed?
because Facebook knows me. Okay, Facebook knows everybody's personal stuff, and they knew I was a fan of Tom and Jerry, and they knew that they probably knew my favorite episode of Tom and Jerry was one called Dickie Mo. And growing up, I used to watch Tom and Jerry all the time, and this weird version of Tom and Jerry would come on that was different from everything else that I would see sometimes, and it was this really weird take of Moby Dick with Tom and Jerry on a boat, and it was kind of bizarre, and it stuck in my mind, and I would watch it like every time it came on, and years later, let's fast forward to when I had my daughter, and at that time Boomerang was still on cable. And I would show her all these classic cartoons, and she didn't know that they were, old or anything, because I just put on the TV and say, watch these. and I would, whenever Dickie Mo came on, she started to like it also. So whenever I would be doing anything else and that cartoon came on while she was watching it, she would run into the room and come get me, and I would go right with her and watch it. And one time I was in the middle of watching Lost, and she came in and she's like, "Mom, Dickie Mo is on." And I'm like, I just stopped what I was doing, and I ran and spent that time with her, and it became a very bonding moment for us. Wow. So here we go. Flash forward to 2020. I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed, and up comes this obituary for Gene Deitch. And it turns out that Gene Deitch was the director of the Tom and Jerry episode Dickie Mo. And so I was like sad, and I was like, and I never heard of this guy before. So I started to look into his career and read some about him. And I thought he was a very interesting person, and I felt we ought to do a tribute to him, because this is probably one of the most unknown people that actually, had a part in the classic cartoons of the 60s, especially. And he was a very interesting person. So I wanted to spotlight him today. His real name was Eugene Merril Deitch, and he was born in August of 1924, and he passed away on April 16th. He was an illustrator and an animator and a comic artist and film director, but he got his start. He was actually started his life off doing aviation, doing blueprints, and then he ended up in 1943. He got pneumonia, and he was discharged. So he ended up taking his work as a blueprint person for aviation, and ended up doing animation. And he really started off. It really started taking off for him in 1955. And I believe our first clip is actually. I don't want to show the whole interview with him, but it actually sets up the next clip. So if you can roll that clip of the interview of.
Hold on. I didn't pull up your paperwork. Am I supposed to start this at a certain spot?
No, this one you can just start at the beginning, I believe.
Okay, very good. All right, stand by for a sec as
Mark's not prepared.
Oh, I got it up. I just didn't have her paperwork up.
Yeah, we're not going to do the whole 12 minutes. We're just going to do the first couple minutes, and then I'll tell you when we can stop it.
Sounds good to me, girly.
All right.
Yeah, and Gene, how do you pronounce your last name again? Deitch? Deitch, got it.
Hi, this is a small bachelor apartment where I do my work, and it's about a 5-minute walk from where we live in the ancient left bank section of Prague called the Malá Strana. And
it's a beautiful country, Prague.
Today I want to welcome you here and tell you what I can remember about UPA. Those 3 eggs really live in my memory, even though it was 64 years since I first went to work there. In those days it was the Otto K. Olsen building, I think it's Selma and Vine in Hollywood. We had a little rooftop apartment, a little rooftop studio, and we had big dreams. We had big dreams. It was in those days. In those days, we didn't have the three eggs. It was still the industrial film and poster service, but it was a seething little group with plans for the future. We were an animation studio, a cultural group, a political group, art discussion group, and I was absolutely full of myself being part of it. As a matter of fact, it was the very first job in animation I ever had. I hadn't worked in any animation studio at all before, and that was, in my case, it was an advantage because Stephen and Hub thought, well, I wasn't spoiled by Disney, I wasn't spoiled by the house style of the other animation studios, and they thought I was fresh meat. Stephen, in fact, put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Gene, we're going to mold you into the first true UPA director. Well, of course, that covered up the fact that they were paying me peanuts. I started, of course, as an apprentice production designer. I finally got to be production designer when I got in the union, and I worked with Bob Cannon. But getting to be a director among all those items was, among all those titans, was really something for the future. It was in 1951, finally, when Steve sent me to New York with a founding group of the New York studio. There was Grim Natwick and Abe List and Barbara Baldwin and myself. The only key person that hadn't arrived yet was Wardell Gaynor, a cameraman. So the Howdy Doody show on NBC was probably the first daily color television show. It was a big success. But we had heard, because I had just met Alan Swift, who was acting on the show at that time, that there was a lot of unrest in the Howdy Doody studio. And there were all the puppeteers and other voice men were, everybody was looking to make more money. And I think that what the producers had in mind by coming to us was that we would be making a cartoon version of the show, which would give them something they could put on television without having all of those other people to pay. And they were probably expecting us to really closely reflect the way the show looked. But the thing was, we did UPA, we consider ourselves avant-garde artists. We were at the cutting edge of animation in those days, and we thought the Howdy Doody character, the puppet, and the whole show was just kitsch. And we thought we could show them how it could be made with up-to-date design. And so we went ahead and at that time I had gotten Cliff Roberts, I brought in from Detroit, and Dwayne Crowther from Hollywood came in, and we formed a little group to make this Howdy Doody show. We had no money, so we went to a paper cutout technique, but I had all kinds of ideas about how to make transitions and camera effects and things we were just experimenting with in those days. So we thought we would make this film and that they would see a better way to present Howdy Doody. Of course, we were dreaming. When the film was finished, they actually hated it. And Buffalo Bob Smith ordered the negative destroyed. And I was absolutely dismayed, heartbroken, because we thought we had done something really great. And I spent the next 50 years, actually, we made this film 58 years ago from today. Today, 2010, that was 1952. And from about 1950, I started looking desperately with every contact I could find to try to find if there was possibly an existing print left of this film, without any success whatever. And I had actually given up ever seeing my first film again. Well, my first film that said directed by Gene Deitch. That's what I guess why it had a meaning to me. It was the first film in which I had my direction title onto it. So I had just about given up when just about 2 months ago, I got word that a print had actually been discovered in the archives of the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Somebody had preserved our original presentation print. And unfortunately not stored well. It was badly deteriorated. It's got all kinds of flickering in it, but we were able to restore it, especially bring up the soundtrack, which we had beautiful music track by a composer named
Okay, that's about, we can end it about right here.
As I said, certain.
Okay, that was good information to know.
Wow.
I didn't. I had no clue.
I didn't either. This is why I found this so. He has such a fascinating career to me, and actually, I do have the part of Howdy Doody and his magic hat, which I had never seen before, and I guess it was just recently found back in I think that was in 2012. So I wanted you to try to start that at about at 1 minute and 10 seconds, and we'll end it at about 2:15.
Okay, stand by. I got a full lobby here. Down, and let me bring Howdy Doody up. And where did you want me to start that, you said?
At 1:10. And I want to say good morning to Linda, who is on my watch party.
Yay! Who's Linda? Yay, Linda!
Friend of mine.
Yeah, I knew that.
A while ago.
What'd you say, about 1:10?
Yeah, about 1:10.
And 9 and 10. 1:10. All right, are we full screen on this? Let me go back. Boom, boom, boom.
About here.
Okay.
Yeah, because it starts to get really kind of deteriorated as you go along, because it is an old print, and I guess the only one in existence.
Wow.
But did you see notice how they use the music? How they use the music in that?
Yeah. I feel like I've just been on drugs, or I'm I mean, this is like watching the Beatles. Really something. Yellow Submarine, really something psychedelic. And
I can see why Buffalo Bill freaked out.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I didn't know that that's Buffalo Bill is the character in here, right?
I have no idea, but I know that the
male actor. No, he was the narrator for the show, for the Howdy Doody show.
That's right. And so Howdy Doody himself, I didn't know was an animated character.
He wasn't.
He was a puppet, and and the puppeteers were all fighting over how they wanted more money, so they were going to try to do a cartoon version, and it was a total failure.
It was he was a marionette.
I knew he was a puppet. I knew that, and I just didn't know that there was any animation that was done of that character. So that's pretty.
I think it sounds like this was the one and only.
Yep, it was the one and only one done, and it thought for years to be destroyed. So
yeah,
wow,
very.
Yeah, he has a very this Gene Deitch. He has a very interesting career as far as things that have been buried, or people tried to bury his work, or not very well known. But so this really kind of freaky and kind of creepy. But I guess they didn't have any money, so it was really on a tight budget how they made it, but. I just thought it was kind of interesting how they used, music, sort of like the Tom and Jerry cartoons. There was like no audio. So
what was interesting in the interview was one of the things he said about paper cut, how they cut the papers for their cells and did that instead of doing the painted cell routine.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a very different type of cartoon. The next one. I found by accident as I was researching, and I fell in love with this cartoon because It reminded me so much of Rocky and Bullwinkle style humor. And I couldn't find much information about it, but it was directed by Gene Deitch. It's called Foofel's Train Ride. And the really cool thing is you as you listen to the train conductor, the humor is so incredible. We can just play part of this. Let's see. Did I have? No, you can just start it where it starts, and then we'll just cut it off at some point. But just listen to the train conductor, because that's the hilarious part of it.
Can't see it.
Yep, I know.
Attention all passengers. Panoramic excursion train, world's most popular ride. Gruesome Gulch, Mount Nosebleed, Plummet Canyon, coming in on track 1.
Your seat and say hello to your neighbor. This is your scenic wonder guide, Captain Blunt. We're about to pass through Torpor Valley, where grows the world's thickest patch of swamp grass. If you will open your easy glide window, specially placed next to your seat for viewing convenience, you can catch the delicate aroma of swamp grass at the peak of its fragile fragrance. Ready, everyone? Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. Lovely, isn't it? And now, passengers, a surprise feature of our excursion. Close all windows. We're about to pass right under glorious, spectacular, voluminous fog.
I guess we can end it
Dining
about
car
there.
is now open for the convenience of all passengers. No jostling, please. We're about.
It goes on with the Misfits, and he gets more snarky throughout the whole thing. The train conductor. It's really funny. Hey, we got a guest.
You're gonna come back here and say hi. Say hi.
Hey,
Hi, Gwen.
I know she can't hear us, but tell us we said hi.
She says they say hi. Do you want to say something? Do you want to say something?
Hi.
Thank you. Hi. I'll see you later.
They'll see you this afternoon. Okay. Thank you, sweetheart. Sorry about that, guys.
Go ahead, Rose.
Okay, well, from 1960 to 1963, Deitch collaborated with Rembrandt, and he started to direct some Popeye cartoons. We have two different ones I wanted to show you, because there are two very different type of stories to show his diversity. And the first one is your standard kind of Bluto versus Popeye show off, which is See No Evil from 1960. So we'll go ahead and roll that one.
Bluto did it. And it is coming. There we go. Oh, I thought she was farting.
Yeah, and restful too.
The boat's name is Miss Olive.
Olive.
Wow, looks like everything's overboard, Olive. But Popeye, everything wouldn't fall overboard.
I think this is about the most R-rated you get to a Popeye cartoon.
Wow.
I always loved the Popeye mutterings.
Yes.
Are those shorts or boxers?
They look like boxers to me.
Whatever you want them to be.
Well, what do you need, some?
Let's see here, motor,
Motor,
gas tank,
gas tank,
windshield, cushions,
cushion,
steering wheel.
Of course, he doesn't notice this is all his stuff.
Right.
I'll need $500, some.
Oh, gosh, $500.
Yeah, everybody takes $500 to the beach.
Keep our eyes peeled, Olive.
Hey, she's more shapely than I remember.
Yeah. The 60s were good to her.
She's got boobs.
Nice work, Olive. You caught our pirate red-handed. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we've been robbed again, Popeye.
That's how I mumble.
Well, my old chum's back again.
Yeah, let's have a motor.
Motor,
Gas tank, windshield,
windshield,
cushion,
cushion,
steering wheel. And this time, gives me a skin diving suit.
I'll be $800, chump.
Wow! That skin diving pirate's costing me a fortune.
Okay, I guess we can stop it right here.
I was kind of enjoying him mumbling, but okay.
You know, I want to know what sailor is running around with over $1,000 in his pocket.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wow! Here's me chance.
Hold on, 1 second. I had to get up
Oh, Popeye, are you all right?
Oh, that was great. That was great.
Hey, you know what? I see that Sage just mentioned about Sweet Pea, and it's very, very ironic because our next cartoon that I wanted to show was called Sweet Pea Soup. And and this is also a Deitch cartoon, and it's very different from the one you just saw, where you see the typical Bluto, Popeye dynamic. So let's go ahead.
If it's got Sweet Pea, does it have the sea hag? Because the sea hag, when she appeared, Sweet Pea was also as like an orphan, and she was trying to get his money or whatever.
I don't think the sea hag's in this one, but this is a very interesting cartoon. So let's go ahead and roll some of this one.
The people is reporting your majesty.
You're pretty ugly your own self, Popeye.
I get the impression they're looking for a new king, Bozo.
Who wants a triumphal king?
Who
Oh, Nathan. This has been a cold winter and it's no fall. We need a springtime king.
Sweet Pea for king! Lovable Sweet Pea! He's gonna fix better on the postage stamp!
Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me these days.
Story of my life.
Popeye, since you brought Sweet Pea here to visit, the people love him and can't stand me.
What'd you say, Rose?
So that's the story of my life, but nobody loves me. Everybody hates me.
Oh, we don't hate
Gladly
you.
give him the job, Popeye. But what else could I do?
If you were drawn like that, we'd hate you.
Hanging is the only work I know.
Sweet Pea don't mean no harm, Your Majesty. He's just naturally lovable.
That's it! I must find out what makes Sweet Pea so sweet. All in the royal mansion!
Ready for evil action, O king?
I'll give you until lunchtime tomorrow to make me as lovable as Sweet Pea.
Couldn't I do something easy, like unscrambling an egg? Oh, Popeye, that poor man!
Don't worry, Solid. That scientists are pretty brainy.
But Popeye, nobody can ever be as sweet as Sweet Pea.
Oh my gosh! Stop your worries, King Blozo. Tomorrow for lunch, you shall have Sweet Pea soup, which will make you every bit as sweet as Sweet Pea. Yeah. I wonders what could be the main ingredient in Sweet Pea soup. Hello, is this the villain station? This is O.G. Watersnozzle, King Blozo's official mad science. I need a quick recipe for Sweet Pea soup.
You want to find out what's in that soup? You better use your nose!
Where's Sweet Pea? Blozo is wet, Sweet Pea!
Yeah, that's so directing!
That's somebody hanging from a tree?
Hold on, King Blozo!
Yeah! Let's go whether we can handle my shoulder!
I gotta find little Sweet Pea quick before the situation gets dangerous.
Situation.
I think the ingredient in Sweet Pea soup is sweet pea.
I see.
It's very strange,
Sweet
right?
Ticklements.
Where's Sweet Pea?
Okay, you can end it right about here.
Okay, yeah, I figure we're pretty much hearing the same thing over and over again. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I will. On you. I'm
So
sorry.
I just want to show the two different, like we had this, typical Popeye episode, and then this thing with Sweet Pea, which is very kind of strange, and just a really bizarre storyline where they're trying to eat this kid so the king can become popular as he is. It's just very odd, I thought.
I think they were all on drugs.
That is probably accurate.
Only reason I don't get this storyline at all. You got a kid, an infant, who's trying to overthrow the real king. What appeal did they see in a little baby? I don't know. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm so confused.
I know. It's just very strange. But this brings us to what Gene Deitch is most known for. He, in 1960, he made a short called Munro. And Munro, it aired right before the viewing of Breakfast at Tiffany. So if you went to the theater to see Breakfast at Tiffany, this was the short you saw before it. And it ended up winning an Oscar for the best animated short film in 1961.
Wow.
I watched this all the way through. I find it's a very compelling short little film about a boy who accidentally gets drafted into the army because nobody's paying attention, and he it's like what he goes through before they find a way for him to get out, because it's just showing that I think they were trying to make a point about you know, how everything, everything, people are just going through the motions and not really, paying attention to what is actually happening. Why don't you go ahead and run some of it and we'll see what everybody thinks about it.
Oh,
this was the Oscar winner, so, and what he's best known for.
Oh, I know, I see it.
It should be starting. I think it comes up here in a minute.
Oh, I see. So this is normal.
What?
Yeah, hold on for a sec, guys. Looks like it's not picking
Not playing. Up. It's not playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Stand by for a sec, please. Let's see what we got here. Let's try this again.
You can just fast forward it through to like the first minute or so.
All right. This looks like.
There we go.
Unusual. Nah. Now, this is all about Munro. Who was for? There was nothing unusual about Munro. He wouldn't wash his face.
No.
He wouldn't eat.
No.
He wouldn't sleep.
No.
His was a stable, well-rounded, fully integrated life.
Little punk.
Then, one day, he received a letter. He had one of his big friends read it to him.
It's from local draft board 92, and it says your friends and neighbors send you greetings.
So while the other kids played and chased and did exactly what was normal for them, Munro came to the shocking realization that at the age of 4, he'd been drafted. The next morning, Munro went for his physical.
Nah, they'll never take me.
Oh, my back. I got a bad back, boy.
Well, my doctor says army food will kill me. Are you kidding me? Me in the army? Boy, they won't let me off, I know. I got a Pomichter of the spine. Oh, they have to let me off. They'll kill my mother.
About me, mister?
Now left eye, now right eye, that's all.
Drop your shorts. Now hop around on one foot. That's all. Any history of mental illness in your family? Okay, that's all.
Munro tried to explain that he was just a little boy, but the doctors were too busy drafting a famous ball player to even notice him.
Smile, Billy. Hey, Doc, pump his hand. That's it. Shake like you like him. Good.
And so Munro was classified 1A.
My father's got friends in the Pentagon.
Well, I'm going to appeal.
A fat one take care about my mother, boy.
About me, mister?
Go home, settle all your business affairs. You'll hear from us in 21 days.
Now they step to the rear of the car, please.
And so Munro went to war. The sergeant couldn't speak English very well. He spoke in code.
I want to welcome you men to the Army. You meet us halfway, we'll meet you halfway. This is a time of world struggle. I'll explain the issues. Our side is in favor of God, the other side isn't. Any questions?
It was all very simple. Even Munro could understand. Okay, this won't kill you. Move up. Okay, let's go. This won't kill you. Come on, move up. Let's go. Okay. Now Munro was a full-fledged soldier. He learned to play all the games that soldiers play, like face. Or another game called Take This Man's Name, where everyone must sweep and clean. And then the man who was it would walk past each bunk and say,
Take this man's name.
Oh, there were so many games to play. But poor Munro, oh boy, he was very tired. He went to the sergeant.
I'm only 4. I'm only 4.
And is the official policy of the Army not to draft men of 4. Ergo, you cannot be 4. Ergo, you only think you're 4. Go on sick call. So, the next morning, Munro went on sick call. Everybody's faking, everybody's faking, everybody's faking. You, what's wrong with you?
I'm only 4.
How long you been feeling this way?
I'm only 4.
Open your mouth, we'll soon fix this.
I'm only 4.
Munro was sent on his way with a box of white pills and a warning to stop faking. Sick call was over. But try as he might, Munro could not get over the idea that he was 4. He went to the psychiatrist. I'm a lingerer, bucking for a psycho discharge, are you? I've handled your type before. He went to the chaplain.
My son, you will find life here in the Army so much more rewarding if you make the best of it and decide to face realities. Let's have another chat real soon.
He went to the colonel.
Get out of here, you little goof-up, or I'll shove you in the stockade for a month.
Well, Munro promised he'd try, really try this time. For if so many wise men claimed it was impossible for him to be 4, how could he be 4? From now on, he would be a soldier. He would march with the best of them. He would shoot with the best of them. And if need be, he would go to war with the best of them. A new bunch of men.
See that man? That's a soldier. That's what we're going to train you to be. We're going to separate the men from the boys.
And Munro began to cry.
Hey, stop that crying, soldier.
The sergeant looked embarrassed.
Stop that crying, soldier. Stop that crying, soldier. Stop that crying, soldier.
Then out came the general.
Soldiers don't cry. Only little boys cry. Are you a soldier or a little teensy-weensy crying baby boy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, then, you're nothing but a little baby boy. Obviously.
Simple logic.
And once they'd said it, Munro began to look different to them.
I rule that this is a little boy. Of course. It's logical. A little boy.
Sign here, just a simple release.
The day Munro was sent home, they held a big parade in his honor. There were newsreel photographers and television and his mother and his father and all the kids in the neighborhood. And the general even read a message from the president.
I hold no fear for our nation's future when even a mere lad of 4 is stirred strong enough by our cause to enlist himself in the service of his country.
I'm from the American Legion. You want to join? Munro was a hero. Ah, his parents were so proud. But from that time on, whenever he became cranky, his mother would just remind him of the Army, and Munro would be a good boy.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Papa.
A very good boy indeed.
So what did you think? Oh.
Well,
I can't hear you. Can you hear him?
No, I can't hear him at all. No. Well, he had my.
So what did you think, Jerome?
And knowing the time that it came out, man, was that political. There was so much politics in that, you know. That was, if I remember right, that was what, 1955-ish, thereabout.
Yeah, 1960. I think is when it. I think it was 1960 that it won the Oscar in 1961. So
okay.
Probably made around that time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking the beginning of Vietnam and everything else. you know, the advisors going to Vietnam. So that was hugely political, that episode about, you know, recruiting boys and all that, because that was one of the big things.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was brilliant. Yes, in fact, it was political. I agree 100% on that. But the take that they took on a child being drafted into the military and how they literally went to the extreme in terms of child, and showing the so-called ramifications in terms of people caring, people not caring, the bureaucracy of it all. We're not interested in how old you are. We want you to go die for your country. So I can understand how it probably garnered an Oscar for animation back then. There probably wasn't that much animation in terms of going up for Oscars back then, but I can see that this was one. So I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much on that.
Yeah, what I found interesting is at the end they said that he enlisted, but he had been drafted.
Yeah,
but the president. So you see how they twisted it at the end. You know, how the government takes things and just turns it around sometimes. You know.
Yeah, and you can also. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, you go ahead, Jerome.
You can also see on the style of art that this was very minimalist art. And this was a very popular time. Also, I mean, this is also, if you look at the time, this is also about the time they were doing the Pink Panther.
Yep.
And other cartoons like that, where it was very minimalist. You know, the story mattered, the art wasn't as important.
I just had a shadow freak me out. It was a shadow on my window just then, and I thought, oh my God, someone's trying to feed. It was a squirrel coming down the tree, and it was his shadow. I'm fine. I'm fine now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mark is squirrel.
Squirrel.
At least it's not a bear, Mark. You know,
well, yeah.
and that could very well happen where you live.
That's true. Well, thank you for introducing me to Munro.
Yes. So that was what he was best known for. But later on, he also worked on some Tom and Jerry films. Like I said in the beginning, these Tom and Jerry's are very different. And even when I was a child, I realized that when some of these came on, they were just very strange compared to other Tom and Jerry films. And I just found out why while doing my research. I found this old Boomerang like snippet that they showed in between cartoons on Boomerang about why these were so different. And now I completely understand. So why don't you go ahead and run that Boomerang short that I pulled up.
I think this is the first one. So let's. Oh, I have. Is it 7? Is it entitled 7 Toonheads?
Yes, that's it.
Got it. Okay.
In 1959, animation director Eugene Deitch moved from New York City to Prague, Czechoslovakia. 2 years later, he took over the Tom and Jerry franchise for MGM. Unfortunately, Deitch was never given the $50,000 budgets that Hanna-Barbera received for each of their cat and mouse cartoons. With just 1/5 the budget, Deitch directed 13 new Tom and Jerry theatrical cartoons. The character designs were simplified, and the animation became much more flat and two-dimensional. Despite his cost-cutting, Deitch had very little money left for audio. So the music and sound effects were almost non-existent in his Tom and Jerry cartoons. Gene's entire animation crew was Czechoslovakian. He was the only animator on his staff who had ever even seen a Tom and Jerry cartoon. All of the Hanna-Barbera Tom and Jerry's were created in Hollywood, and proudly stated so at the end of each cartoon. But this new batch of Tom and Jerry cartoons came from behind the Iron Curtain. MGM was concerned about the public's reaction, so they eliminated their trademark ending. And now, the Eugene Deitch Tom and Jerry cartoon, High Stakes.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That's an education. I'm impressed.
What I found out also about how he felt about Tom and Jerry, he thought that the conflict was very biblical, and compared it to the David and Goliath. The big giant versus the small guy, and the small guy became triumphant. So that's the way that he envisioned Tom and Jerry. And I have two different cartoons that I wanted to show of his Tom and Jerry. The first one being High Stakes. Let's see if you can just go ahead and roll High Stakes. I thought this was very fun day.
Oops, I helped to press play. That's the music I remember.
I guess we can end it about there.
10-4.
So as you can see, it's how minimalist it really is with the music and zero dialogue, but a lot based. It's all like slapstick joke style, And so, Jerome, do you have anything you want to say about it?
Oh, wait a minute. I had him muted.
There we go. Yeah, no, like you said, it was, and you'll notice there was no dialogue whatsoever in that one. It was all done as musical, and like I said, it wasn't just so much about the money. I mean, animators have been known to do their own dialogue if necessary. This was a case of this was artistic style. You can tell that okay, so we don't want to have any dialogue. Why? Well, it's cheaper to write. It's easier to write without dialogue. Because a lot of writers are not very good with dialogue, So,
right.
So what do? Well, we basically, we lay out what we wanted to do. We throw some music in, and we're done. And we don't need the dialogue. We don't need temperamental actors, whatever, So
but maybe because he was in Czechoslovakia. And they were all, didn't know English, didn't know.
I'm agreeing with that one, especially,
So and you can tell. I mean, even like I said, when I was growing up, you could tell a distinct difference between these particular Tom and Jerry cartoons and what we were used to.
Oh yeah, and like I said, if he really wanted to do dialogue, he himself could have done the voiceover work himself. Being the only guy speaking. We saw that in the Incredibles when the guy who plays Edna Mode was Brad Bird, but the whole aspect of this is that if you look at the history of when this was done, which was the early 60s, this was a huge change in art style also going on at the same time. There was a real art revolution going on throughout the world, and this I think.
Yeah, that kind of coincided with jazz as well. So
Exactly. It was what was the jazz? It was sort of a free form jazz, and and this was, this art reflected it.
Yeah, and this next clip that we're going to show is actually it's my favorite Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's very strange. I think why I don't know why I really liked it so much as a kid. It's maybe because I knew it was based on a famous book and that they played around with that genre. But here's Dickie Mo. We're not going to see all of it, but here's a portion of it.
Dickie Mo. Dickie Mo. No more.
The guy had no shirt on. Didn't we just see this?
They showed it in the Deitch clip.
Yeah, they showed it in the interview.
Get to work.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, I guess that's where they ended it. A very interesting thing about this cartoon was, as you can see, light bulbs hadn't been invented yet. So when he had an idea, it was a candle on the top of his head. and the cartoon's actually about 7 minutes long. I just got Boomerang the other day. I bought a subscription because there's no conventions this year. There's not a lot going on, so I decided to pay $40, get a year, and all the Tom and Jerry cartoons are on there, and they are everything on this channel. It's all remastered, and it's so beautiful. My daughter and I watched Dickie Mo in its complete entirety the other night, and loved every minute of it. It was like it was part of her childhood, and it was my childhood. So the funny thing is that Gene Deitch, he had said that he thought of it as a David and Goliath kind of thing, and Jerry being kind of the hero. But my daughter and I both see Jerry, especially in this particular cartoon, as the antagonist. The only thing that Tom does to him that's bad through the whole thing is that he scrubs him until he turns transparent. The rest of the cartoon, Jerry's just making life miserable for him, making the work harder, and he's just really a little small bully throughout the whole thing. And it ends up that's how it ends, with Tom wrapped around Dickie Mo, and the whale goes off into the sunset, and the crazy Ahab character is like, "Come back with my whale,"
right?
So that is the story of Dickie Mo, and for whatever reason in my mind, it's like one of my favorite Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Excellent.
So
got two more.
I do have two more. I wish that I'd put Nudnik on here. I did have Nudnik on here, but I got rid of it just because I didn't know how long it would be time wise. So later on, Gene Deitch had a 50 cartoon series called Crazy Cat, which was actually based on a comic strip by George Herman, which ran from 1913 to 1944.
Oh my God!
And this cartoon was made in Deitch's Czechoslovakian studio. And a lot of people, I mean, I hadn't really heard of this before until I was looking into him, but apparently it was kind of popular. So why don't you go ahead and run some of that Crazy Cat.
Oh, little angel. I wonder where my wandering rodent is tonight. Oh, there with my poison cigarettes now. With a mouse on the scene, can a cop be far behind? Just like I figured. Oh, how wonderful. Ignatz is coming his way. I can hear the gentle pitter-patter of his tiny mouse's feet now.
Crazy, did you? Crazy? Crazy, did you happen to see a mouse?
No, just stars.
I'm sure he came in here, and there's only one door.
He's not in this pot.
Why, Crazy, you wouldn't be harboring a criminal in that pot, would you?
That's my dinner cooking.
Without a light?
Goodness, how silly of me.
Just as I suspected, a mouse casserole. I've got you this time, you bothersome brick thrower. Stop! In the name of the...
I guess we can end it there.
I was going to throw it out the window. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, do either of you remember this Crazy Cat cartoon?
Not at all.
Not this particular one, but I do remember Crazy Cat. It was also I think it's a newspaper comic strip at one point too, if I remember right. Yeah,
Yep.
and the cartoon and the comic book. Yeah,
And you're right about the comic strip. Yeah.
So apparently, it's this cat is in love with this mouse, but the mouse is like and thinks it's the antagonist. It's very, very different.
Abusive relationship.
Yeah, very strange.
I just think it's strange.
Yeah.
I feel like
Speaking of strange, you wait till the last one. Wait till it. Wait for it. Wait for
Yeah,
it.
I saw a little of the last one, but for that one, I feel like, I'm Barney Fife, where I just want to say, well, he's a nut. But I that is a female cat, right?
Yes, that is a female cat. Yep.
Okay.
Actually, it looks like a human in a cat costume.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it's Crazy Cat, because it's a woman dressed like a cat.
With the ears chopped off and everything, and I'm like, okay, who actually watched this when they were growing up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now,
Okay, this last one is disturbing.
It's got a story behind it. And in my this is why I love doing Saturday morning cartoons, and sometimes just digging up. Doing this one, I just learned a whole bunch of new things, and this one's very interesting in a twisted sort of way. But I did not realize that The Hobbit was not very well known or popular.
Right.
and because growing up as a child, it was all the rage, because in 1977 there was a cartoon version of The Hobbit, and I read all the books, the Lord of the Rings and what have you, but it wasn't known very well, and there was a gentleman by the name of William Schneider who went to the J.R.R. Tolkien estate, and he bought the rights for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, but he only had till 1966 to do something with them theatrically. So he ended up having he got Gene Deitch to do this rushed version of the Hobbit, which is very different from the Hobbit that we all know. And this is the first version of the Hobbit ever made for cartoon, a cartoon version, and it was like buried, and probably for a very good reason. But it came back in around about 2012. It resurfaced again. I guess Gene Deitch was looking for some of his work, and they were able to locate it. So we're gonna watch this version of The Hobbit, which is very different, and we're gonna start it at 2 minutes.
Okay, I just want to preface this. Can you hear me, by the way? Because I had mic problem. Okay, just want to preface this that in Saturday morning cartoons is not responsible for any psychotic results that viewing this episode of Saturday morning cartoons, because I could swear we are really into some LSD crap. Watching this whole show today, I think everybody's psychotic. You said started at 2.
Yeah, started at 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Fingers. All right, there we go.
All right.
So my apologies if you guys feel like you need to jump off your roof.
Away from all the troubles and dragons and treasure lived a certain hobbit. Like all hobbits, he lived in a hole in the ground. It was a very comfortable hole, full of everything needed for a cozy, secure life. A far different sort of life than that of his great-great-great-great-grand hobbit. This settled and satisfied hobbit was named Bilbo Baggins, and he didn't.
Wait a minute. Did he say great-great-great-grand hobbit?
Yes. I think that's what he did say, yes.
Okay, just checking.
Know that his time had come. All at once they were there, eating his food, shouting for more, filling the air with terrifying words about dragons, fire, stolen gold, and death. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are all talking about, cried Bilbo Baggins. We are talking about you, said the wizard Gandalf. You are the chosen dragon killer. You shall lead this group over the impassable barricade mountains, through the impenetrable Mirkwood forest, across the poisonous desolation of Slag, to Lonely Mountain itself, wherein the horrid creature lies. You must creep into the deepest great chamber of the old jewel mines of Dale and kill the fire-spitting dragon Slag.
Okay, that's a good place to end it.
Now, if you've all
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I've lost all hearing.
I wish you lots of luck and all speed, but it is written in the prophecies, said General Torrin Oakenshield.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew about this one. I knew about this one.
I thought you said this was animation. I thought you said this was animation.
It is.
No one's moved a freaking limb yet. All I see is GAF slide viewers going by my face.
That's what they called animation back then.
Oh my god!
It's very, very different, and they even changed the dragon's name from Smaug to Slag. Slag.
And they have a princess.
They're a princess. And at the end, he and the princess, I think, go off together. It's very different, very strange.
Now, what's funny is I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but Kara is a fairly well-known person in the Lord of the Rings community.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yeah, and there's a documentary because she even co-chaired a conference on Lord of the Rings.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you had to know Wombat, the man who introduced us. But what happened? There's a documentary out called Ringers about the Lord of the Rings fans.
Yeah,
and they talk about this one, and this one inspired a lot of people, including the band Rush.
Really?
Yeah. This one had a lot of things because the animated one you're talking about that was on TV didn't show up until about 76, 77.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And by that time, a lot of the people who were inspired by it and that did stuff in the 80s and the 90s had already started their careers and were already inspired by it. And one of the things that happened with Lord of the Rings is that it didn't get popular until the graffiti in New York started showing up that said Frodo lives. Okay. And that's when things started going crazy. But yeah, this had some real bad things going on with it. But it did start people thinking about LOTR.
You mean LSD?
No, that was later, and that was a certain Harvard professor.
Yeah. Okay. Is that the spider?
Yeah, that's the spider.
That's Shelob, which is which is interesting because Shelob really it doesn't show up until Lord of the Rings. This is one of the other spiders in.
Wow. Okay. Thought it was missing some limbs there, but I kind of see it faded out there. Whoa, hold on. That's the LSD moment.
So that is my tribute to Gene Deitch.
Yay! Hold on, let me get this off the screen as it deserves to be.
Yes, yeah, he had moved to Prague, and that's where he in that apartment was where he was found. He passed away, I guess, with complications from pneumonia. But he lived well into his 90s, so a life well lived and a very different cartoon history today.
So it wasn't COVID related?
No, they didn't say it was COVID related.
Okay.
That didn't come up.
Yeah, well, I want to say good job.
You learned something though, Mark. You got to admit that.
Every part of me wants to congratulate you for a job well done, but in all honesty, you have in fact did a great job, Rose. I think the time and the effort that you put into this, meaning no way in hell would I have spent my time and effort to put anything into this.
You forget Rose is really good at research.
Oh my God, yes. And I have told my audience, our audience, that look, Saturday morning cartoons, we just don't play the normal stuff that you're used to seeing and enjoying. We show you crap too. I mean, we show you other stuff too.
You know what?
No.
Look, Rose is really good at digging up the obscure stuff. I want to know, Rose, when do you go after finding Hoffa?
Nobody knows where Hoffa is,
Hoffa.
I was told growing up he was out in the Everglades somewhere, in an alligator stomach,
Yeah. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, Rosemarie Rose, who did an incredible job on this. We congratulate her profusely and hope that she never does this again. But nonetheless, with her effort that she put into this, because I've never heard of the guy. When I started pulling images, I'm like, what the hell does he have to do with Tom and Jerry? So. Thus, we've been educated. So it was a great show on your part.
Oh, we lost you again.
We lost your audio.
We lost your audio. Yep, there he goes again. Yeah, I gotta say that was a very enlightening research you did, Rose.
Thank you very much.
I had never heard of the guy either.
I probably wouldn't have even done it, but when I found out that he's the one who directed Dickie Mo, and that had like such a profound effect on both me and my daughter.
I guess my insult took its toll. That's why I.
Thank you, Sage. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Sage.
But, I learned a lot. I learned a lot researching it, and there I impart it to all of you.
we did too. I would have never known that he had anything to do with Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, I should say. But
the fact that he was an Oscar winner and nobody had heard of him was
and
fascinating.
For him to have passed in this past April, I mean, we could have, probably found something else on him, maybe him himself. to come on the show so we can ask, who the hell are you? You know.
Well, there's a lot of tributes to him on YouTube, and he had his own blog also. So if people are interested, he did have his own blog that talked more in depth about his years as a cartoonist.
Yeah, so you guys should seek that out. And like we said before, this was Gene Deitch.
Yeah.
Gene Deitch. And Gene Deitch, you guys should look up. All right, so that was our Saturday morning cartoons. A few more announcement here while you get your accolades. Good research. Shut the hell up, Charles.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.
Who so that was Charles. Was Deborah saying very informative and interesting? Deborah, you're a liar.
Thank you, Deborah.
And it's been an experience. Terry, you're just a sucker. So anyway,
yes, those cartoons are a unique experience, Terry. I agree.
Okay. Real quick before we go on to our other announcements, let's go ahead and ask Jerome, since it's Jerome's turn next week. What was that? I just saw teeth. What was that about?
He's screaming.
Jerome, hold on, Jerome. I'm giving you the platform. Go ahead.
Okay. Next week we'll be doing vehicles. So I want you to spread the word around because I have a special interview about one of the vehicles that we're going to be doing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got to send you guys the clip, but there will be a special interview during the show from a person who worked on one of the shows we recently previewed. He was a writer at one of them. So
I know who you're talking about. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's about a 5-minute long interview. I got it at a convention, and I think it's worth your time. I've since become friends with this man, and he has an incredibly great warped sense of humor.
Oh, that's good to hear. Okay, so that's next week. We'll be doing vehicles. Of course, that's cartoon vehicle, guys. So you won't see Kit or
no, it'll be Saturday morning vehicles.
But Saturday morning vehicles. Oh, gotcha. I know exactly what you mean by that. Okay, all right. So Saturday morning vehicles, we'll be seeing that. Later on today, guys, in a little bit less than 2 hours, about 2 hours, 45 minutes, my kids show is debuting for a second round. And by popular demand, some people want to look at Snotty Nosed Brats for an hour or so. So
I'm going to be in the other room. I'm going to plop her.
No, that's your daughter. You better, hey, hello, I need a room monitor. So
no. This is a chance for me to get away. This is babysitting.
So look, we got some cool kids that are coming on. We're going to have some interesting questions. This would qualify as educational for Saturday morning. Do we get a grant, Deborah? Do we get a grant? Okay. So anyway, so the kids are going to come on and they're going to basically say anything they want. And we're actually having the American debut of a 10-year-old lad from Scotland. I had incorrectly put up my first banner as being from Ireland. Scotland, Ireland, come on. What's the difference? Anyway, so they both wear skirts. But anyway, so 10-year-old, he's a musician, and he's going to be playing some really cool music during that. And I'm really looking forward to that. This is his first American debut, and he, in fact, has played all over Scotland at other events and things that I wanted to say bars, but he's 10, so I don't think that would be appropriate. I don't think he did, but he so we're looking forward to that. So that's going to be the kids show, which starts at noon today, and the kids are just biting at the bit to get on to be a star. So if you want to see the fact that we're in COVID-19 and we're all in quarantine gives my hair a chance to actually be pulled out, which you will probably see live on the air, okay, at noon. So I have something to grab.
Haircut.
What's that?
You won't need a haircut.
No, you're right. It'll just come out in splotches, and you're right. We're gonna do that. Also, we have the return of the artist. Oh, look at this. Terry just told me in terms of between Scotland and Ireland. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, just the accents. Really? Okay. Okay. I didn't know they talk differently too. But anyway, we're returning on the 29th. We're going to be having the artist show. I had the artist show before. We're going to have artists come on and display, since these are mainly artists that go to conventions to sell their wares. I'm giving them a platform to go ahead and sell their wares through us. So we'll be hosting the artist show. NBL Entertainment will be hosting the artist show. We have a new batch of artists: Colleen Duran, Stan Morrison, Tony Taylor, a bunch of other people that'll come on and show their wares. And as of today, I have started, or I'm going to present through NBL Entertainment, a new show. I forgot what the hell I named it because I put it up this morning. I may have to look at. Anybody remember what I called this damn thing?
Is that your newlywed game?
It's not the Newlywed. It's like the Newlywed, but it's not called the Newlywed Show. And okay, here we go. The show's called "They Knew What They Were Doing When They Kissed." Okay?
Want to bet?
And this is and this is a show bent on couples. Okay, whether you're married or not. I prefer you live together long enough to be able to answer the questions.
Rose, you notice he said bent. Just so you know that.
What? Bent?
Couples are bent.
Oh, okay.
Well,
all right, so I'm going to be asking you guys a question based on your living experiences with your spouse. And no holds barred. I may have to preface this show as being probably PG-13. I'm not going to go the R side. For those of you who have taken cruises, you've seen this done in the main ballroom as a show. I'm going to try and do the same thing, basically asking one couple a question and the other couple or the other spouse would have to answer. Okay.
Are you getting kickbacks from the divorce attorneys?
No, I'm not getting any. Look, you know, if you agree to do this show, I have no responsibility whatsoever of you breaking up after the show. So, you can do that. You can pay for a Deborah grant. Okay, or maybe $2.
I have a friend named Deborah Grant.
All right, that's good.
This is our educational budget. I don't know if I'm going to have to let one of you go. Unless she can come up with the $2 and I'll just waive my salary, period. Okay. And all right, whatever, Deborah. Anyway, so
Sage had a good announcement too.
So Jerome, can I count on you? Well, Rose, I doubt your husband will come on camera.
He's too shy. He won't. He's a very quiet person.
So Jerome, I'm assuming that you are volunteering to do this, or
no.
I can imagine the question. Jerome, exactly what time in the morning does your wife get up?
Depends upon what time she went to bed last night.
Don't answer the question with a question. That way, what time does your wife get up? Average.
Anywhere between 7:30 and 11:30.
Oh, good God. Wow. All right. So there's an example of a divorce, ladies and gentlemen. So look forward.
That's why I'm not volunteering.
The date is not set. We may do it in June, since that's when most of the weddings are happening. That's
a good idea.
On a show. So I hope you guys join up for that. All right. Well, I got an hour. I got to get ready for.
Hey, Mark. Before we go, I just want to mention Sage put on mentioned that they're having their cyber concert today.
Yeah. That was the other thing that I wanted to mention. Thank you so much. You want to talk a little bit about that, Rose?
No. It's just that they're going to be having a lot of live bands. And there's a link on their page for if you were in CyberCon, they're doing their cyber concert. I think Tim Russ's band is.
Tim Russ is massively ecstatic about being a part of this. He's actually placed numerous phone calls to Garrett just to make sure he's got everything straight. He's really, not only is he ecstatic, he's nervous as hell. So Tim Russ and his band, and I think that's an 8:30 show, 8:30 or 9:30 tonight. But it's 8 hours. It starts at 3 p.m. Very appropriate to give time for the kids show to get out of my hair. And until 11 p.m. So this should be a very, very interesting concert. I implore that you guys find the link, spread it around to everyone that you know of, that if they want to watch music within literally what I just said, if they want to watch music within that 8 hour span, I suggest you do so. In fact, I think Sam Bard, who in fact is my 10-year-old kid that's going to be on the kids show, is actually it'll be his second American debut. performing. You should hear this kid perform. I'm really looking forward to that. But you know, come on, watch this music, and even if you're working at home, all you need is volume, and you can listen to the music. But at least take part in these indie artists, some known, some not so known, but all avenues, all types, all genres of music is going to be played starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. You ain't going nowhere, and you got enough toilet paper, so all we need is your ears. Just leave the bathroom door open, and you will actually enjoy. And all of this being produced through HWWS, which is our parent company, a partner company, I should say, who actually helps us with this. And this is the entertainment that we try to give you guys. Even if you're stuck in a house, it would have still been going on, even if you weren't in the house at all. But this is something that you guys really, really need to listen to starting at 3 p.m. On the link. Just click the link and just turn up the volume on your laptop or your desktop or your TV, whatever you can access it through, and just enjoy it. Tim Russ, if you've never heard him play before in his band, I've had him at a number of gigs in LA, actually, with him, and it's going to be something interesting to see. He's professing that he's rusty. We'll be the judge of that. And Tim Rusty.
For those of you who don't know, Tim Russ played Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager.
Star Trek Voyager, yes, he was a Vulcan. So,
he also directed the fan-made film Star Trek Renegades.
Exactly.
That was incredible. Yes.
He was also one of the guys who was combing the area in Spaceballs.
Yep.
And basically, you know, have you found anything? We ain't found the kick going across the sand. So you guys need to come and listen to him tonight, and everybody else before him. Listen to.
Yeah, it's going to be a great afternoon. So you know.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I hope everybody tunes in. So it's going to be great.
If you're in your car, you know, you can access it through your cell phone, and you can.
Absolutely.
You know, I plug my cell phone into my or Bluetooth my cell phone into my speakers in my car. So, you know, it'd just be great to have that kind of original music. You've heard everything else that's out there on the radio. It's time for you to wake up and listen to other people, you know, who actually exist out there and could be actually better than what you've heard on the radio. All right, so look, on behalf of myself, Rose, and Jerome there. Hey, we thank you guys for joining us here for Saturday Morning Cartoon. We'll see you next week for Cartoon Vehicles, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And I had to burp.